The dollar bill trembled in the little girl's hand as she stood before the chained dog. But it was her mother, Officer Sarah Chen, who couldn't breathe. The German Shepherd's amber eyes locked onto Sarah's face, and in that split second, everything she'd been told for 3 months shattered like glass. This wasn't just any abandoned police dog. This was Rex, her partner. The canine who'd vanished after finding evidence that powerful people wanted buried. And now he sat here broken and dying with a cardboard sign that read, $1, good home needed. Someone hadn't just discarded him. Someone had put him here to suffer, to disappear, to die where everyone could see him, but nobody would care enough to ask why. Before we dive into this incredible true story, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. This journey will challenge everything you think you know about loyalty, corruption, and what one child's love can uncover. And I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. I love seeing how far these stories travel and connecting with viewers around the world. Now let's begin where it all started, with a question that would expose a conspiracy and save a hero's life. Sarah Chen had learned long ago that Saturdays belonged to Lily. No matter how many cases piled on her desk, no matter how many late-night calls came through, Saturday mornings were sacred. Just her and her 6-year-old daughter wandering through the downtown farmer's market, pretending the world was simple. "Mommy, can we get the strawberries? The big ones." Lily tugged at Sarah's hand, her pigtails bouncing as she pointed toward a fruit stand. "Sure, baby, whatever you want." Sarah smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. It hadn't for 3 months now, not since Rex disappeared. They moved through the crowded market, Lily chattering about her upcoming school play, about her friend Madison's new puppy, about everything and nothing. Sarah tried to focus, tried to be present, but part of her was always elsewhere, always searching, always wondering. The department said he was rehomed. Her captain had told her, his voice flat and final. Behavioral issues, aggressive tendencies. It happens with canines. You need to let it go, Chen. But Sarah knew Rex. She'd trained with him for 2 years, worked alongside him for 3 more. He didn't have aggressive tendencies. He had a 98% success rate finding missing persons. He'd saved 4 lives, directly helped solve 17 cases. He was the best tracker in the state. And then after one particular case, he was just gone. "Mommy, look at the flowers." Lily pulled her toward a vendor selling sunflowers as tall as she was. Sarah bought her one, watched her daughter's face light up with pure joy, and felt that familiar ache in her chest, the ache that came from knowing she'd failed her partner, that somewhere Rex might be suffering, and she'd done nothing because her captain told her to stand down. They walked past the bakery, past the jewelry stands, past the local artists selling paintings. The morning sun climbed higher, warming the brick-lined streets. Everything felt normal, safe, ordinary. That's when Lily stopped dead in her tracks. "Mommy!" Her voice came out strange, small, frightened. Sarah's training kicked in immediately. She scanned the crowd for threats, her hand instinctively moving toward where her service weapon would be if she were on duty. "What is it, baby?" "That dog." Lily's finger pointed across the square past the fountain toward the old storefront that had been vacant for months. "Mommy, can I buy that police dog?" Sarah's stomach dropped before her brain even processed what she was seeing. Chained to the wrought iron fence, barely visible behind a cluster of pedestrians, sat a German Shepherd. His head hung low, his ribs visible through matted golden fur. A piece of torn cardboard leaned against the fence beside him. Sarah's feet moved before she made the conscious decision to walk. Each step felt like wading through concrete. The crowd parted, and then she could see him clearly. The distinctive white blaze down his nose, the notched left ear from a training accident 2 years ago, the specific pattern of his coat that she'd memorized from countless hours working together. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no." The dog lifted his head slowly, as if the movement cost him everything. And when his amber eyes met hers, Sarah felt the world tilt sideways. Rex, her partner, her friend. The dog who'd trusted her with his life was sitting here chained like garbage with a sign that made her blood run cold. $1. Retired police dog. Good home needed. Mommy, Lily's voice seemed to come from very far away. Do you know him? Sarah couldn't answer. She couldn't breathe, because Rex was staring at her with an expression she'd never seen on his face before. Not alertness, not the focused intensity of a working dog. Defeat. Pure, absolute defeat. His tail didn't wag, his ears didn't perk up. He just looked at her with those intelligent eyes that had seen too much, suffered too much, and expected nothing good to come next. Stay here, Lily. Sarah's voice came out rougher than she intended. But Mommy, stay, here. She said it with her officer voice, the one that meant, don't argue. Lily's lip trembled, but she nodded and clutched her sunflower tighter. Sarah approached slowly, her heart hammering so hard she could feel it in her throat. Each step revealed more details, more horror. Rex's paws were cracked and bleeding as if he'd been walking on hot pavement for days. His coat, once glossy and thick, was matted with dirt and what looked like dried blood. The chain around his neck was too tight, digging into his fur, leaving raw patches of skin visible beneath. But worst were his eyes. Those amber eyes that had once sparkled with intelligence and purpose now held nothing but exhaustion and pain. Rex. She whispered it like a prayer, like maybe saying his name could undo whatever hell he'd been through. His ear twitched, just barely. Recognition flickered across his face, but he didn't move, didn't stand, didn't react the way he once would have, with joy, with excitement, with the pure happiness of a dog seeing his person. He just stared at her. And then slowly, deliberately, he looked away. That hurt more than anything. That moment when her partner, her friend, chose to turn his face from her because he'd learned that trust was a luxury he could no longer afford. Sarah dropped to her knees on the dirty sidewalk, not caring about her jeans, not caring about the people walking past and staring. Her hands shook as she reached toward him. Rex, it's me. It's Sarah. What happened to you? Who did this? He flinched, just slightly, just enough to break her heart completely. Mommy! Lily had crept closer despite being told to stay back. Her small voice was thick with tears. Why doesn't he remember you? He remembers baby. He just... Sarah's voice cracked. He just doesn't trust me anymore. And why should he? She'd let him disappear. She'd accepted the department's lies. She'd moved on, gotten reassigned to a new case, started the process of requesting a new K9 partner. She'd abandoned him. Rex, please. She kept her voice soft, steady, using the tone she'd always used during training. It's okay. You're safe now. I've got you. His head turned back toward her just slightly. His nostrils flared, taking in her scent. And then something shifted in his expression. Something small, but unmistakable. He remembered. His tail gave one weak thump against the pavement. Sarah's vision blurred with tears. Yeah, that's right. It's me, partner. I'm here now. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. She reached out slowly, telegraphing every movement the way she'd learned in K9 training. Her fingers brushed against his head, and Rex didn't pull away. He pressed into her palm just barely and made a sound that wasn't quite a whine, but wasn't quite silence either. It was the sound of a dog who'd forgotten how to ask for help. How much for the dog? A voice behind her made Sarah spin around. A middle-aged man in an expensive suit stood there checking his watch with obvious impatience. He had the kind of face that was used to getting what it wanted, smooth, confident, with eyes that didn't quite match his smile. Excuse me. Sarah stood slowly, positioning herself between the man and Rex. The sign says $1. I'll give you $5. I need a guard dog for my property. He pulled out his wallet, already reaching for bills. He's not for sale. The sign literally says. I don't care what the sign says. He's not for sale. The man's smile tightened. Look, lady, I don't know what your problem is, but this is clearly a stray someone's trying to get rid of. First come, first serve. He's not a stray. He's a police K9. A retired police K9. The man corrected his tone, sharpening. Which means he's no longer police property. which means whoever owns him can sell him. And I'm buying. Sarah felt Lily pressing against her leg, could feel her daughter trembling. Her cop instincts were screaming that something was wrong. This man wasn't here by accident. He wasn't just some random buyer. Who told you he was here? Sarah asked quietly. What? This dog. Here today at this specific location. Who told you he'd be here? The man's confident expression flickered. Just for a second, but Sarah caught it. I saw the sign walking past. Now are you going to sell him, or do I need to call who? Sarah took a step forward. The police. I am the police. Officer Sarah Chen, downtown precinct. And you're going to tell me right now who put this dog here. The man's face went pale. I don't know what you're talking about. Rex was my partner. He disappeared 3 months ago under suspicious circumstances. And now he shows up here abused and chained with a sign that practically begs someone to take him. That's not coincidence. That's deliberate. You're insane. The man backed up. I was just trying to help. By offering $5 for a dog that costs $15,000 to train. By checking your watch every 10 seconds like you're on a schedule. By knowing he's retired when that's not public information. Sarah's voice rose. Try again. The man turned and walked away fast. Too fast. Sarah memorized his face, his gait, the expensive watch on his wrist. Later, she'd pull security footage. Later, she'd hunt him down. But right now, Rex needed her. She turned back to find Lily kneeling beside the dog, her small hand resting gently on his paw. Rex hadn't moved, but his eyes were fixed on the little girl with an intensity that made Sarah's breath catch. Hi, Lily whispered. My name is Lily. What's yours? His name is Rex, Sarah said softly, kneeling beside them both. He used to be my partner. We worked together catching bad guys and finding lost people. What happened to him? Lily's voice was so small, so heartbroken. I don't know yet, baby, but I'm going to find out. Sarah examined the chain around Rex's neck, looking for a lock, a clasp, anything. It was padlocked, professionally. This wasn't some temporary restraint. Someone had locked him here, intending him to stay. She pulled out her phone and called the precinct. This is Officer Chen. I need a bolt cutter and a patrol unit at the corner of 5th and Main, immediately. What's the emergency? The dispatcher sounded bored. I found my missing canine partner, the one who disappeared 3 months ago. He's been abandoned, abused, and chained to a fence. I need backup now. There was a long pause. Officer Chen, I don't have any record of a missing canine. Sarah's blood went cold. What? There's no report filed. No missing animal alert. Nothing. That's impossible. I filed a report the day he disappeared. I filed 3 reports. I'm looking at your file right now. No canine reports. Are you sure you have the right dog? Sarah looked at Rex, at his distinctive markings, at the scar on his shoulder from where he'd been stabbed, protecting her during a raid 2 years ago. At the way he was looking at her like he was drowning and she was air. Send the unit, Sarah said through gritted teeth. I'll explain when they arrive. She hung up and immediately called her captain. It went to voicemail. She tried again. Voicemail. Third time he answered. Chen. I'm in a meeting. Rex is alive. I found him. Silence. Long enough that Sarah wondered if the call had dropped. Captain. Did you hear me? I found... That's impossible. I'm looking at him right now. He's chained to a fence downtown, half-starved, injured. Someone put him here, Captain. Someone from inside the department. You're mistaken. I'm not mistaken. I know my own partner. I know the dog I worked with for 5 years. Officer Chen. His voice went cold, formal. You need to step away from the animal and return to your vehicle. That's an order. What? You're experiencing emotional distress. You're seeing things that aren't there. Go home. Take the rest of the day. We'll discuss this Monday. Captain, I'm not... The line went dead. Sarah stared at her phone, her mind racing. The dispatcher claimed there were no reports. Her captain ordered her to walk away. That man had shown up knowing exactly where Rex would be. This wasn't just neglect. This wasn't just someone discarding a dog. This was a cover-up. A deliberate, organized effort to make Rex disappear. But why? What had he found that was worth all this? "Mommy?" Lily touched her arm. "You look scary." Sarah forced herself to breathe, to think like a cop instead of a heartbroken partner. She took photos of Rex from every angle. The chain, the sign, the storefront behind him. She documented everything. "Lily, I need you to do something very important for me. Can you be brave?" Her daughter nodded, eyes wide. "I need you to stay with Rex while I go to the hardware store across the street. I'm getting something to cut this chain. Do not let anyone touch him. Do not let anyone take him. If someone tries, you scream as loud as you can. Understand? I'll protect him, Mommy." Sarah kissed her daughter's forehead, then Rex's head. "I'll be right back. 5 minutes." She ran across the street, her mind working overtime. Every instinct screamed that she was being watched, that someone knew she'd found Rex and was making decisions about what to do next. The hardware store was busy with Saturday shoppers. Sarah grabbed the biggest bolt cutters they had, threw cash at the clerk, and ran back outside. Lily was exactly where she'd left her, sitting cross-legged beside Rex with her sunflower laid across his paws. She was singing to him, some song from school about sunshine and rainbows. Her voice was small and sweet, and Rex's eyes were closed, his breathing steady for the first time since Sarah had arrived. "Good girl," Sarah whispered. "You did perfect." She positioned the bolt cutters and squeezed with all her strength. The chain resisted, then gave with a sharp crack. Rex flinched at the sound but didn't bolt. "Okay, partner, we're getting you out of here." Sarah carefully removed the chain from around his neck, wincing at the raw wounds beneath. "Can you stand?" Rex tried. His front legs shook, barely supporting his weight. His back legs gave out completely. "It's okay. I've got you." Sarah scooped him up, grunting under his weight. He was too light. He should have weighed 75 pounds. He felt like 50 at most. "Where are we going?" Lily asked, grabbing the bolt cutters and Sarah's purse without being asked. "Emergency vet, now." Sarah carried Rex through the market, past staring crowds, past vendors calling out offers of help. She ignored them all. Her car was parked 3 blocks away, and every step felt like a marathon. Rex's head rested against her shoulder, his breathing shallow but steady. He didn't fight her hold, didn't struggle, just let her carry him like he'd finally found someone he could trust not to drop him. "You're going to be okay," Sarah whispered into his fur. "I promise you, you're going to be okay." She reached her SUV and gently placed Rex in the back seat. Lily climbed in beside him immediately, wrapping her arms around his neck. "I've got him, Mommy. He's safe now." Sarah drove faster than she should have, running yellow lights, taking corners too sharp. Her phone rang 4 times. The captain. She didn't answer. The emergency vet clinic was 15 minutes away. Sarah made it in 8. "I need help." She burst through the doors with Rex in her arms. "Police K9, severe malnutrition, dehydration, possible internal injuries." 2 vet techs rushed over with a gurney. They transferred Rex carefully, already hooking him up to monitors, taking his vitals. "How long has he been in this condition?" The lead vet, Dr. Martinez, appeared from a back room. "I don't know. He's been missing for 3 months." Dr. Martinez's eyes widened. 3 months? And he's alive? "Barely." Sarah's voice broke. Please help him. We'll do everything we can. You'll need to wait here." They wheeled Rex through the double doors into the treatment area. Sarah stood frozen, watching him disappear, feeling like she was losing him all over again. Lily grabbed her hand. "Mommy, why are you crying?" "Because I found him, baby. After all this time, I found him." "Is he going to die?" Sarah pulled her daughter close. "Not if I can help it. Not this time." They sat in the waiting room for 20 minutes, then 40, then an hour. Sarah's phone rang constantly. She turned it off. Finally, Dr. Martinez emerged, her expression grave. "He's stable." "But Officer Chen, we need to talk." Sarah's stomach clenched. "How bad?" "Follow me." They walked back to an examination room, where Rex lay on a steel table, sedated but breathing steadily. Bandages covered his paws, an IV dripped fluids into his leg. "The malnutrition is severe," Dr. Martinez said quietly. He's lost at least 30% of his body weight. The wounds on his neck indicate prolonged restraint with a too-tight chain. His paw pads are shredded from walking on hot pavement, possibly for days. He has 3 broken ribs that healed incorrectly, suggesting they occurred weeks ago without treatment. Sarah felt sick. What are you saying? I'm saying this wasn't 3 months of neglect. This was 3 months of deliberate abuse. Someone wanted this dog to suffer. Someone wanted him broken. Who would do that to a police dog? Dr. Martinez met her eyes. That's what you need to find out, because animals don't end up in this condition by accident. This was systematic, intentional, cruel. Sarah looked at Rex, at his bandaged body, at the way his chest rose and fell with labored breaths. Rage built inside her like a fire. Can he recover? Physically, maybe, with time, proper care, and a lot of luck. Psychologically, Dr. Martinez shook her head. That's going to take much longer, if he recovers at all. I want a full medical report, every injury documented, every timeline estimated. I want evidence. Evidence for what? For the investigation I'm about to start. Sarah pulled out her badge. Because someone is going to pay for this. I'm going to make sure of it. Dr. Martinez nodded slowly. I'll have everything ready by tomorrow. Good. How long until he can go home? At least a week. He needs constant monitoring. Sarah looked at Lily, who had climbed onto a chair and was holding Rex's paw gently. Lily, we need to go. Rex has to stay here so the doctors can help him. No. Lily's face crumpled. We can't leave him. What if he thinks we abandoned him too? Baby, he needs medicine and he needs us. Lily's voice rose fierce despite her tears. He needs to know someone cares. Please, Mommy, please don't make him be alone again. Sarah looked at Dr. Martinez. Can we stay, at least for tonight? The vet hesitated, then nodded. There's a chair that converts to a bed. I'll bring blankets. They stayed. Sarah pulled the chair close to Rex's table while Lily curled up beside her. Through the night, Sarah watched Rex breathe, counting each rise and fall of his chest like a prayer. And she began making a list in her head. Names, dates, everyone who'd been involved in Rex's last case, everyone who had access to canine records, everyone who might have had a reason to make him disappear. Because Rex hadn't just been discarded, he'd been silenced. And now that Sarah had found him, she was going to uncover exactly what he'd discovered that was worth destroying him over. Someone was going to answer for this. Even if it meant going up against her own department, even if it meant risking her career, even if it meant everything. Rex had given her 5 years of loyalty, 5 years of watching her back, 5 years of unconditional trust. Now it was her turn to return the favor, no matter what it cost. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as Sarah sat in the vet clinic's cramped office, staring at Rex's old case files on her laptop. It was 3 in the morning. Lily had finally fallen asleep curled against her side, one small hand still reaching toward the treatment room where Rex lay sedated. Sarah's eyes burned from exhaustion, but every time she tried to close them, she saw that chain around Rex's neck, those raw, bleeding wounds, the way he'd looked at her like he'd stopped believing in rescue. Her phone vibrated for the 16th time. Captain Morrison, again. She declined the call and opened the encrypted folder she'd backed up 6 months ago, the one containing every detail of their last case together. The Riverside warehouse case, the missing child. 12-year-old Marcus Webb vanished on his way home from school. They'd tracked his scent for 3 miles through alleys and side streets until Rex had alerted outside an abandoned warehouse on the industrial side of town. Sarah remembered that moment with perfect clarity. Rex had sat down hard, his entire body rigid with alertness. He'd scratched at the warehouse door 3 times, then looked back at her with those intelligent amber eyes that said clear as day, "He's here. The boy is here." But before they could enter, before they could call for backup, Detective Paul Hendricks had arrived. Smooth confident with 20 years on the force and connections that reached into every department. He'd taken one look at the warehouse and made a call. Within 15 minutes, federal agents had swarmed the scene, thanked Sarah for her service, and told her the case was now classified. She'd been ordered to leave. Rex had been pulled away mid-alert, whining and straining against his lead, desperate to finish the search. 2 days later, the official report stated that Marcus Webb had been found safe in another state, reunited with family. Case closed. Sarah had tried to visit the family to confirm, but they'd moved. No forwarding address, no phone number, just gone. And Rex. He'd been agitated for weeks after, pacing, whining at odd hours, refusing food. Sarah had chalked it up to stress, to the interrupted search throwing off his training. She'd worked with him every day, rebuilding his confidence, until finally he'd seemed like himself again. Then, exactly 3 months ago, he'd disappeared from the canine facility overnight. His kennel door left open. No signs of forced entry. The security footage for that night had been mysteriously corrupted. Captain Morrison had called her into his office the next morning and told her Rex had been retired and rehomed due to behavioral issues she'd never reported. Sometimes dogs just snap, Chen. You know that. Be grateful it happened before he hurt someone. She'd accepted it because she'd trusted her captain. Because she'd trusted the system. Because she'd been a good little soldier who followed orders and didn't ask difficult questions. Not anymore. Sarah pulled up the property records for the Riverside warehouse, owned by Riverside Industrial Holdings, LLC, a shell company. She dug deeper, following the trail of paperwork through 3 more LLCs until she found a name that made her stomach drop. Councilman Richard Vance, the same councilman who'd been on the police oversight committee for 8 years. The same councilman who'd pushed through the budget that funded new K-9 units, who showed up at every department ceremony, shaking hands and kissing babies. The same councilman who'd announced his run for state senate 2 weeks after Marcus Webb supposedly went home. Sarah's hands shook as she typed his name into the database. Married, 2 kids, clean record, not even a parking ticket, model citizen, pillar of the community. She pulled up his financial records, next the ones that required a warrant, but that she'd learned how to access through back channels during her years in narcotics. Nothing unusual. Regular salary, regular expenses, regular donations to charity. Too regular, too clean, too perfect. She dug deeper, pulling bank records for the shell companies. There. Monthly wire transfers of $15,000 to an offshore account in the Caymans. For 36 months. $500,000 moving through legitimate business accounts into somewhere untraceable. What were you paying for? Sarah whispered to the screen. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from an unknown number. Stop digging, for your daughter's sake. Sarah's blood turned to ice. She looked at Lily sleeping peacefully against her shoulder and felt rage so pure it tasted like copper. They'd threatened her child. She took a screenshot of the message, backed it up to 3 separate cloud accounts, then called the one person she knew she could trust. Detective Angela Rodriguez picked up on the second ring despite the hour. This better be life or death, Chen. I found Rex. Silence. Then, say that again. I found him, chained to a fence downtown, half dead. Someone put him there deliberately. And Angela, I think I know why. Where are you? Emergency vet on Oakmont. But don't come here. They're watching. They just threatened Lily. She heard Angela's sharp intake of breath. Who's they? I don't know yet, but it goes high. Real high. Rex's last case was the Marcus Webb missing child. The warehouse. Remember? The one that went federal. Yeah, I remember. That was weird. Feds don't usually move that fast on local cases. It wasn't federal. It was a cover-up. The warehouse is owned by Councilman Vance through shell companies. And there's money moving. A lot of money. Angela, I think Marcus Webb never went home. I think he's still missing. I think whatever Rex found in that warehouse was bad enough that someone decided he needed to disappear. Jesus, Sarah. Do you hear what you're saying? You're accusing a city councilman of being involved in a child's disappearance. You have any idea what that'll do to your career if you're wrong? I'm not wrong. Rex doesn't make mistakes. He alerted. That boy was there. Was being the key word. Could have been moved. Then why make Rex disappear? Why corrupt the security footage? Why threaten my daughter? Sarah's voice rose and Lily stirred. She forced herself to speak quieter. Someone is very, very afraid of what I'm going to find, which means I'm on the right track. Angela was quiet for a long moment. What do you need? Pull everything you can on Councilman Vance, quietly. No warrants, no official channels. And see if you can find anything on Marcus Webb's family, where they moved, who they talked to before they left. Sarah, if you're right about this, I know. But I can't let it go. Not now. Not after seeing what they did to Rex. Okay. But Chen, watch your back. If this goes as high as you think, you're not just fighting criminals. You're fighting people with the power to make problems disappear. They already tried that with Rex. It didn't work. Sarah hung up and stared at her daughter's sleeping face. The protective instinct that rose in her was primal fierce. Nobody threatened her child. Nobody. She pulled up the security footage from the farmer's market, the files she'd requested from the local businesses before leaving the clinic yesterday. Most had been helpful, handing over digital files without question. She scrolled through timestamps until she found the angle showing Rex chained to the fence. There. A black sedan pulled up at 6:47 a.m., 3 hours before the market opened. A man got out, average height, wearing a baseball cap pulled low. He pulled something from the trunk, Rex unconscious or drugged, and carried him to the fence, secured the chain, placed the sign. The whole operation took 4 minutes. Professional. Practiced. The man never showed his face to any camera. But he made one mistake. When he turned back to the car, his sleeve rode up, revealing a tattoo on his inner forearm. Sarah zoomed in, enhanced the image. An eagle clutching scales, the symbol of the Canine Officers Association. Her breath caught. No, 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 no. The man who'd chained Rex wasn't some random hired thug. He was one of them, a canine officer, someone who'd worked with dogs who understood their value, their training. Someone who'd betrayed everything that symbol was supposed to represent. Sarah pulled up the roster of current and former canine officers, comparing build and height. 32 names. She started cross-referencing them with the warehouse case, looking for any connection to Detective Hendricks or Councilman Vance. Most had no connection, but 3 names appeared in the same operation 6 years ago. A drug bust that went sideways where Vance had been photographed at the scene, praised for his civilian courage in calling 911. Hendricks had been lead detective, and Officer James Garrett had been the canine handler whose dog had alerted to the stash. Sarah pulled Garrett's file. Divorced. Financial troubles. Multiple disciplinary actions for excessive force. And there in his personnel photo, the same tattoo on his inner forearm. Found you, she whispered. A noise from the treatment room made her jump. Sarah carefully moved Lily to the chair, covered her with a blanket, and walked to where Rex lay. Dr. Martinez had said he'd be sedated until morning, but his eyes were open, tracking her movement. Hey, partner, Sarah said softly, approaching slowly. Can't sleep either. Rex's tail moved slightly, not a wag, but acknowledgement. His eyes were clearer now, the pain medication and fluids working. But there was something else in his gaze, something haunted. I know what happened, Sarah told him, kneeling beside the table. I know why you disappeared. You found something, didn't you, in that warehouse? Something they couldn't let you expose. Rex's ears flicked forward, alert, despite his exhaustion. I'm going to make this right. I promise you. But I need to know. Sarah paused, feeling foolish for talking to a dog like he could answer. But Rex had always understood more than he should have. Is Marcus Webb still alive? Rex's entire body went rigid. His breathing quickened. And then he did something that made Sarah's blood run cold. He pressed his nose against her palm and whined once, sharp, the alert signal for deceased. Oh, God, Sarah breathed. He's dead. Marcus is dead. Rex pressed harder, confirming. And you found him, in that warehouse. That's what you were trying to tell me. Another press, another confirmation. Sarah's mind raced. A missing child who was never really missing because he never left that warehouse alive. A councilman with motive to cover it up. A detective who made the case disappear. A K-9 officer who'd disposed of the only witness who couldn't be threatened or bribed. They'd gotten away with murder because everyone assumed a child found safe meant justice served. Nobody had questioned it. Nobody had followed up. The perfect crime. Except for one loyal German shepherd who remembered what he'd found and refused to forget. They tortured you, Sarah said, rage making her voice shake. They starved you and beat you and left you to die because you were the only evidence they couldn't destroy. Rex leaned his head against her hand, his eyes closing briefly. But you survived. You tough, stubborn, beautiful boy. You survived. The treatment room door opened and Dr. Martinez appeared looking surprised. He's awake. That's earlier than expected. He's stronger than you think, Sarah said. How soon can he travel? Travel, Officer Chen. I told you at least a week. How soon can he travel safely if his life depended on it? Dr. Martinez studied her face, seeming to read the urgency there. Tomorrow morning, if I give him aggressive fluids tonight and portable pain medication, but I'd be doing it against medical advice. Noted. We'll be ready at dawn. Where are you going? Somewhere safe, somewhere they won't look. Sarah stood, her mind already planning. Can you do me a favor? If anyone calls asking about a police canine, you tell them he died on the table. Injuries too severe. You'll need to file a death certificate. You're asking me to lie in official documents. I'm asking you to save his life, because if certain people find out he's alive, they'll come back to finish the job. Dr. Martinez was quiet for a long moment, then nodded slowly. I'll need to see some proof that you're in real danger, that this isn't just paranoia. Sarah pulled up the threatening text on her phone and showed her. Dr. Martinez's expression darkened. They threatened your daughter. Yes, which means Rex isn't the only one in danger anymore. All right, I'll handle the paperwork. But Officer Chen, whatever you're walking into, be careful. People who threaten children don't play by rules. Neither do I. Not anymore. Sarah returned to the office where Lily slept and began making arrangements. She called her sister in Phoenix, someone she trusted absolutely. Julie, I need a favor, a big one. Don't ask questions, just say yes or no. Can Lily and I stay with you for a few weeks? Her sister's voice was groggy with sleep but sharpened quickly. Sarah, what's wrong? I can't explain, not yet. But I need to get Lily out of town, tonight. Is she in danger? Potentially, yes. Then get on a plane. I'll have the guest room ready. Sarah, whatever this is. I know, thank you. Next, she called Angela again. I need you to do something that might get you in trouble. I figured, what is it? I'm taking Rex and Lily out of town, off-grid, until I can build a solid case. I need you to tell anyone who asks that you don't know where I am, that I took emergency family leave and didn't say where I was going. How long? 2 weeks, maybe less if I work fast. You think you can solve a murder and expose a conspiracy in 2 weeks? I have to try. Rex has already given me leads. I just need time to follow them without looking over my shoulder every 5 minutes. All right, but Sarah, you better come back. This department needs good cops, and that little girl needs her mother. I'll come back, I promise. Sarah hung up and looked at Rex through the observation window. He was watching her, those amber eyes sharp despite his injuries. He knew something was happening. Dogs always knew. We're going on a road trip, partner, she told him softly. One last mission, and this time we're going to finish what we started. Dawn came too fast. Sarah woke Lily, gently whispering that they were going on an adventure to Aunt Julie's house. Lily, still half asleep, accepted this with a child's easy trust. Dr. Martinez had Rex ready, bandaged and medicated with a week's worth of supplies in a bag. He shouldn't walk more than necessary for the next 72 hours, the vet instructed. Keep the wounds clean, watch for infection, and if he shows any signs of distress, I'll call. Thank you for everything. Don't thank me yet. I'm filing that death certificate in 1 hour. After that, officially, this dog doesn't exist. You understand what that means? It means, if I'm wrong about any of this, I've just destroyed my career for nothing. And if you're right, then I've saved all of our lives. Sarah carried Rex to her SUV, Lily climbing in beside him with a determination that would have been funny under different circumstances. The little girl had appointed herself Rex's personal guardian, and she took the job seriously. They drove out of the city as the sun rose, taking back roads, avoiding traffic cameras. Sarah's phone rang twice, Captain Morrison, but she didn't answer. She couldn't. Not until she had proof. Not until she had everything she needed to blow this case wide open. 3 hours into the drive, Lily spoke up from the back seat. "Mommy, are we running away?" Sarah glanced in the rearview mirror. Her daughter was stroking Rex's head, her small face serious. "No, baby. We're not running away. We're being smart. Sometimes being brave means knowing when to step back and plan. Is Rex really sick, or is someone trying to hurt him again?" Sarah's hands tightened on the wheel. She'd always promised herself she'd never lie to Lily. Children deserve truth even when it was hard. Someone hurt him very badly, and those same people might try again if they find him. So we're going somewhere safe until I can make sure they can't. Are they bad people? Yes. Are you going to arrest them? I'm going to try. Lily was quiet for a moment, then said something that broke Sarah's heart. Good, because Rex is family now, and nobody hurts our family. Sarah blinked back tears. That's right, baby. Nobody hurts our family. They reached Phoenix by late afternoon. Julie met them at the door, took one look at Rex, and immediately understood this was bigger than she'd imagined. Sarah, what the hell is going on? Later. Right now, I need to get Rex settled and make some calls. Julie's guest house became their base of operations. Sarah set up her laptop while Lily showed Rex around, talking to him constantly, her small voice a soothing presence. The dog followed her slowly, painfully, but he followed, like he'd found something worth trusting again. Sarah pulled up everything she could find on Councilman Vance, Detective Hendricks, and Officer Garrett. Financial records, phone logs, property documents. And they're buried in a forgotten police report from 8 years ago. She found it. A complaint filed by a social worker about suspected child endangerment at a community center operating out of the Riverside warehouse. The investigation had been closed due to lack of evidence. The social worker had transferred to another state shortly after. The investigating officer, Detective Paul Hendricks. Sarah's phone buzzed. Angela. You need to hear this. I talked to an old friend in federal law enforcement. Off the record, he said the Marcus Webb case was never federal. Someone made calls, pulled strings, got badges to show up and make it look official, but there's no federal file, no case number, nothing. It was all theater. Yeah. And Sarah Marcus's mother committed suicide 6 months after her son supposedly came home. Drove her car off a bridge, no note, no explanation. Sarah closed her eyes, grief and rage warring inside her. She knew he wasn't really home. Someone paid her to say he was, then killed her when she became a liability. That's my guess. This is bigger than we thought. We're not just talking about one missing kid. We might be looking at a ring, multiple children, multiple victims. Sarah felt sick. Rex found evidence of a trafficking operation. That's what they're hiding. If you're right and you go public with this, everyone involved will come after you with everything they have. Your career will be over even if you win. I don't care about my career, I care about those kids. I care about justice. Then you better have evidence that's bulletproof, because accusations without proof will get you buried. I'll get proof. Rex is going to help me. Sarah hung up and looked at the dog sleeping beside Lily on the guest house floor. He'd led her to Marcus once. He could lead her to the evidence again. She just needed to get him strong enough to work. And then they were going back to that warehouse, together. One last mission. One final search. For Marcus. For all the children nobody had bothered to look for because the official story was too convenient to question. Rex's eyes opened, meeting hers across the room. And in that gaze, Sarah saw what she needed. Determination. Loyalty. The unshakable conviction that justice mattered. That truth mattered. That the innocent deserved someone willing to fight for them even when it was dangerous, even when it was impossible, especially then. They had 2 weeks, 2 weeks to heal, to plan, to build an unbreakable case, and then they were going to war. Against corruption, against power, against everyone who thought a dead dog couldn't testify. Rex would testify. Through Sarah, through evidence, through justice that couldn't be silenced or bought or buried. The game had changed. The hunters had become the hunted, and this time, Nobody was walking away. 5 days passed in Julie's guest house like a fever dream. Rex grew stronger each day, his wounds healing, his weight returning. But it was his spirit that worried Sarah most. He'd wake screaming from nightmares, thrashing against invisible chains. Lily would climb down from her bed and curl up beside him, whispering stories until he calmed. Sarah watched her daughter become the dog's anchor, the only thing keeping him tethered to sanity. On the 6th morning, Sarah's phone rang from a blocked number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Officer Chen." The voice was male, unfamiliar, digitally distorted. "You've been busy." Sarah's blood went cold. "Who is this?" "Someone who wants the same thing you do. Justice. I have information about the Riverside warehouse. Information that'll burn Vance and everyone protecting him. But it comes with conditions. I don't make deals with anonymous callers." Then Marcus Webb stays buried, along with the 7 other children Rex found that day. Sarah's hand shook. 7 others. 8 bodies total. Rex alerted to all of them. The warehouse wasn't just a dump site, it was a graveyard, and the people responsible. They're still operating, still hunting, still killing. You want to stop them, or you want to protect your pension? Tell me what you know. Not over the phone. There's a diner off Route 60, 40 miles south of Phoenix. Bluebird Cafe. Be there tomorrow at noon. Come alone. Bring the dog. He's the only proof I trust. How do I know this isn't a trap? You don't. But I'm the only chance you have at evidence that'll stick. Your choice, officer. Save yourself or save the next kid they take. The line went dead. Sarah sat frozen, her mind racing. 8 bodies. 8 children. And Rex had found them all before being yanked away. No wonder they'd tried to destroy him. He wasn't just a witness. He was a map to their crimes. Was that the bad people? Lily stood in the doorway. Rex beside her, his ears alert. No, baby. That was someone who might help us catch the bad people. Are we going somewhere? Sarah looked at Rex, at the way his eyes tracked her face, reading her emotions. He knew something was wrong. Dogs always knew. Yeah, we're going to meet someone, and Rex is coming with us. Julie appeared behind Lily, her face tight with worry. Sarah, can I talk to you alone? They stepped outside. Julie grabbed Sarah's arm hard enough to hurt. I heard. You're not actually going to this meeting. I have to. It's obviously a trap. Some creep calls you with a ghost story about dead kids, and you're just going to walk into it. What if it's not a story? What if there really are bodies, and I'm the only one willing to look? Then you call the FBI. You call the state police. You don't drive out to some nowhere diner with your traumatized dog and hope for the best. Sarah pulled away. I can't call anyone. Don't you get it? The system failed these kids. The system protected their killers. The only person I trust is unconscious most of the day, recovering from torture. You trust me? I do. Which is why I need you to keep Lily safe while I do this. And if you don't come back, what do I tell my niece that her mother got herself killed chasing conspiracy theories? If I don't come back, you tell her I died trying to save children who had nobody else. You tell her that's what good people do. They show up even when it's dangerous. Especially when it's dangerous. Julie's eyes filled with tears. I can't lose you, Sarah. You won't. I'm smarter than I used to be, and I'll have Rex. Nobody gets past him. The next morning, Sarah left before Lily woke. She couldn't handle her daughter's questions, couldn't promise safety she wasn't sure she could deliver. She left a note on the pillow. Gone to catch bad guys. Back for dinner. Love you bigger than the sky. Rex rode in the passenger seat, his head out the window, tasting freedom for the first time in months. Sarah kept glancing at him, checking his bandages, his breathing, his alertness. He was ready, not fully healed, but ready. And that would have to be enough. The Bluebird Cafe was exactly the kind of place you'd pick for a clandestine meeting. Isolated. One road in, one road out. Parking lot with 3 vehicles and no witnesses. Sarah pulled in at 11:55, 5 minutes early. Strategic advantage. She didn't see the black SUV until it pulled in behind her, blocking her exit. Rex alert. Sarah's hand went to her service weapon, but she didn't draw. Not yet. The SUV's door opened, and a woman stepped out. Late 50s gray hair pulled back, wearing clothes that screamed federal agent even without the badge clipped to her belt. Officer Chen, thank you for coming. The woman's voice was the same one from the phone call minus the digital distortion. You're a woman. Last time I checked. Special Agent Marion Cortez, FBI Child Exploitation Task Force. And before you ask, no, I'm not here officially. This meeting doesn't exist. Then why are you here? Cortez walked closer, and Rex growled low in his chest. She stopped immediately, hands visible, non-threatening. Because 8 months ago I started investigating a pattern. Missing children from low-income families. Kids nobody looked too hard for. Kids whose cases went cold fast. I found connections between 17 cases across 4 states, and every single one. There was a council member or police official involved in closing the case without proper investigation. Sarah's stomach turned. 17 pouch. That I can prove. I think the real number is closer to 50, over 8 years. It's not trafficking in the traditional sense. These kids aren't being sold. They're being used for something worse than disposed of. And the people doing it, they have power money and enough connections to make evidence disappear. What do you need from me? Rex, your dog alerted to that warehouse. He found bodies. His training records show a 98% accuracy rate. A canine alert is probable cause for a search warrant. With his testimony, dogs can't testify. No, but handlers can. You can testify that Rex alerted, that his behavior indicated deceased human remains, multiple sites. That's enough to force an excavation. And if we find what I think we'll find, the whole operation collapses. Sarah studied the agent's face, looking for lies for manipulation. She found only exhaustion and rage, barely contained. Why me? Why not go through official channels? Because I tried. I went to my supervisor with everything I had. 2 days later, I was reassigned to white-collar crime in Nebraska. My investigation was shut down. My files were sealed. Someone very high up doesn't want this case solved. Someone who has the power to bury federal agents along with the evidence. So you're going rogue. I'm doing my job. The one I swore to do regardless of politics or career advancement. I'm finding these kids, and you're going to help me. Sarah looked at Rex, at the scars visible beneath his fur, at the way his eyes tracked Cortez with wary intelligence. He'd survived hell because he was the key to unlocking this. Because someone knew he was the only witness they couldn't silence permanently. What's the plan? Cortez pulled out a folder. 3 days from now, there's a city council meeting. Public forum. Councilman Vance will be there. You're going to stand up during open comments and announce that your canine partner alerted to human remains at the Riverside warehouse 8 months ago, but was prevented from completing the search. You're going to demand a full investigation. That'll make me a target. You're already a target. They threatened your daughter, remember? Right now, you're a problem. They're trying to solve quietly. Once you go public, you're a problem. They can't touch without exposing themselves. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. What about evidence? Just saying Rex alerted isn't enough. It is if 3 other canine handlers come forward saying the same thing happened to them. Different warehouses, different cities, same pattern. I've been building a network, Chen. Officers like you who saw something wrong and couldn't let it go. Once you break the silence, they'll come forward too. Safety in numbers. Sarah felt something shift inside her. She wasn't alone in this. Other handlers had lost their partners. Other dogs had been silenced. This was bigger than Rex, bigger than Marcus Webb. This was about exposing a system that protected predators because it was easier than admitting the system itself was broken. I'll do it, but I want protection for Lily. Real protection, not just promises. Already arranged. U.S. Marshals. Your daughter will be in protective custody the moment you step up to that microphone. And Rex. Cortez looked at the dog, her expression softening. Rex comes with you. Let them see what they did to him. Let them see what trying to silence the truth looks like. They talked for another hour, going over details, timing, backup plans. Cortez had been working this case for months, building evidence piece by piece, waiting for the right moment to strike. Sarah was that moment. A photogenic young officer with a wounded canine partner and a dead kid nobody else cared about. The media would eat it up, and once the story broke, the pressure would force action. Sarah drove back to Julie's house in silence, her mind racing. 3 days, 72 hours to prepare for the moment that would either save lives or destroy her own. Rex slept in the passenger seat, his paw twitching with dreams. She hoped they were good ones for once. Lily met her at the door, launching herself into Sarah's arms with enough force to knock her back a step. "You came back. Julie said you might not, but I knew you would because you promised. I always keep my promises, baby." Sarah buried her face in her daughter's hair, breathing in her little girl scent, memorizing it in case this all went wrong. That night after Lily fell asleep, Sarah sat with Julie and told her everything. The bodies, the conspiracy, the plan to go public. Her sister listened without interrupting, her face growing paler with each revelation. "When this is over," Julie said finally, "you're getting therapy. You, Lily, and that dog, all of you. Because this kind of trauma doesn't just disappear. I know. And you're moving in with me. I don't care what you say. That city isn't safe for you anymore." "Okay." Julie blinked. "Okay." Just like that. No argument. I'm done fighting the people who love me. I spent 3 months angry at myself for losing Rex, angry at the department for lying to me, angry at a system that failed. But you know what anger doesn't protect Lily. Distance does. Fresh starts do. So yeah, okay, we'll move here, after I finish this. After you survive this. After I survive this. The next 2 days blurred together. Sarah practiced her statement, rewrote it, practiced again. Angela called with updates. Detective Hendricks had requested emergency leave and left the state. Officer Garrett had cleaned out his desk and vanished. The rats were fleeing the ship before it sank. "They know something's coming," Angela said. "Word must have leaked." "Good. Let them run scared. Makes them easier to catch when they panic." The morning of the city council meeting, Sarah woke before dawn. Rex was already awake, watching her with those amber eyes that saw too much. "You ready for this, partner?" He stood, shook himself, and walked to the door. His limp was almost gone. His coat was glossy. He looked like a police canine again, all power and purpose. Sarah dressed in her formal uniform, the one she wore for ceremonies and funerals. She pinned her badge over her heart, checked her weapon, and looked at herself in the mirror. The woman staring back wasn't the same officer who'd walked through that farmer's market a week ago. That woman had trusted the system. This woman knew better. Lily appeared in the doorway, clutching her stuffed bunny. "Mommy, are you going to fight the bad people today?" "I'm going to tell the truth. Sometimes that's the bravest fight there is." "Will you be safe?" Sarah knelt down, cupping her daughter's face. "I have Rex. I have good people watching my back. And I have you to come home to. That's all the safety I need." She kissed Lily goodbye, whispered instructions to Julie about the U.S. Marshals, and loaded Rex into the SUV. The drive back to her city took 4 hours. Sarah spent it rehearsing, breathing, preparing for the moment. Her life would change forever. Agent Cortez called when she was 30 minutes out. 3 other handlers are confirmed. They'll be in the audience. When you finish your statement, they'll stand and corroborate. The media's been tipped off anonymously. Every major news outlet will be there. Chen, once you start this, there's no stopping it. You sure? I've never been more sure of anything. The city council chambers were packed when she arrived. Sarah signed up for public comment, then took a seat in the back row. Rex lay at her feet, calm and alert, drawing stares from everyone nearby. A police K9 at a council meeting wasn't unusual, but there was something about Rex that made people look twice. The scars, the intensity, the sense that this was a dog who'd seen things humans shouldn't have to see. Councilman Vance sat at the center of the council table looking relaxed and confident. He had no idea what was coming. No idea that his carefully constructed empire was about to crumble. The meeting dragged through routine business. Budget reports, zoning amendments, permit applications. Sarah barely heard any of it. Her heartbeat was loud in her ears, drowning out everything else. Finally, the council president called for public comment. 3 people spoke about potholes and park maintenance. Then Sarah's name was called. She stood Rex beside her and walked to the podium. Camera flashes went off immediately. She'd worn her uniform, deliberately presenting herself as the face of law enforcement integrity. The cameras loved it. Good evening, council members. My name is Officer Sarah Chen, Downtown Precinct K9 Unit. 8 months ago, my partner Rex and I responded to a missing child case. 12-year-old Marcus Webb. Rex tracked the child's scent to the Riverside warehouse on Industrial Boulevard. Rex alerted to human remains, multiple sites, multiple victims. Councilman Vance's face went white. Sarah continued, her voice steady despite the adrenaline flooding her system. Before we could secure the scene, before we could call for an excavation team, the case was taken over by individuals claiming to be federal agents. The investigation was closed. Marcus Webb was reported found safe. My partner Rex was retired against my recommendation and disappeared from the K9 facility 3 months ago. 1 week ago, I found him chained to a fence, starving and tortured. Someone tried to kill him to cover up what he found in that warehouse. The room erupted. Reporters surged forward. Council members demanded order. And Councilman Vance sat frozen, his political career disintegrating in real time. I'm formally requesting a full investigation into the Riverside warehouse property and demanding answers about why a child's life and a police K9 service were sacrificed to protect someone's reputation. Sarah stepped back from the podium. And then, exactly as planned, 3 other K9 officers stood up throughout the chamber. My partner alerted to the same warehouse 2 years ago. The case was closed without investigation. My partner alerted to a similar property in the neighboring county. He was retired 3 weeks later for behavioral issues he never had. My partner died under suspicious circumstances after alerting to remains at a city-owned storage facility. I was told it was cancer. The autopsy showed poison. The chamber descended into chaos. Vance stood abruptly, his chair falling backward. This is absurd. These officers are clearly coordinating some kind of conspiracy. The only conspiracy here is yours. Sarah's voice cut through the noise. And we have evidence. We have testimony. We have 4 K9s who can't all be wrong. Unless you're suggesting police dogs across multiple jurisdictions spontaneously started lying. Vance's lawyer whispered urgently in his ear. The councilman's face went from white to red to purple. He grabbed his briefcase and moved toward the exit, but Agent Cortez stepped into his path badge held high. FBI, Councilman Vance, I need you to stay for questioning. I don't answer to federal agents without my attorney present. Then call your attorney, but you're not leaving this building until we have answers about 8 dead children and the cover-up that's been protecting you for years. The entire scene was being broadcast live on local news. Sarah watched reporters flooding social media, the hashtag already trending. This wasn't just a local scandal anymore. This was national news. And there was no containing it, no spinning it, no making it disappear. Rex pressed against Sarah's leg, grounding her. She reached down and touched his head, feeling his warmth, his solidity, his fierce loyalty that had survived torture and abandonment. We did it, partner, she whispered. We got them. But even as she said it, her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. She glanced down and her blood turned to ice. It was a photo. Recent. Clear. Devastating. Lily, walking out of Julie's house, unaware of the camera capturing her every move. Beneath the photo, your daughter is beautiful. Shame if something happened to her. Drop this now or she's next. Sarah's vision narrowed to a tunnel. The noise of the chamber faded. All she could see was that photo, that threat, that promise of violence against her child. They'd threatened Lily before, but this was different. This was proof they could get to her, that no protection was enough, that going public hadn't made them safer at all. It had painted a target on everyone Sarah loved. Rex whined, sensing her panic. Sarah forced herself to breathe, to think like a cop instead of a terrified mother. The marshals were supposed to have Lily in protective custody by now, which meant either they'd failed or someone had gotten to them first. She grabbed her phone and called Julie. It rang once, twice, 3 times, 4, then voicemail. Sarah's heart stopped. She called again. Same result. She tried texting. No response. She pulled up the security app Julie had installed, the one that showed cameras around her house. The feed was dead, deliberately disabled. "No," Sarah breathed. "No, no, no." She turned and ran from the chamber, Rex at her heels. Behind her, Cortez was shouting questions. Reporters were screaming for comments, but Sarah heard none of it. She burst through the doors into the parking lot and sprinted for her SUV. Her hands shook so badly she dropped her keys twice before getting the door open. "Where's Lily?" Rex barked once, sharp and urgent, reading her terror. "Where's our girl?" Sarah gunned the engine and tore out of the parking lot, her phone pressed to her ear, calling Angela, calling the marshals, calling anyone who might know what had happened. Angela answered on the first ring. "Chen, holy hell, you're all over the news. They have Lily, or they're going to. I need units at my sister's house in Phoenix right now. Right now, Angela. I'm calling it in. Stay on the line." Sarah drove like her life depended on it, because it did. Phoenix was 4 hours away. 4 hours in which anything could happen to her daughter. 4 hours in which she'd made the worst mistake of her career. She'd thought exposure would protect them. She'd thought making it public would force the predators into the light where they couldn't operate. She'd been wrong. Cornered predators didn't surrender. They attacked. And she'd just cornered the most dangerous predators in the state. Rex howled in the passenger seat, a sound of pure anguish that matched everything Sarah felt. They'd survived so much, found each other again, exposed the truth, and it might have cost them everything that mattered, because the truth had a price. And sometimes that price was paid in blood. Sarah's phone rang 20 minutes into the drive. Angela. She answered on speaker, her knuckles white against the steering wheel. "Phoenix PD is at your sister's house. Sarah, there's no sign of forced entry, no struggle, but nobody's there. Julie's car is in the driveway. Her purse is on the kitchen counter. Lily's stuffed bunny is on the floor by the front door." Sarah's vision blurred. That bunny never leaves her hands. Never. "I know. They're treating it as an abduction. Amber Alert is going out now." "How long ago did they take her?" "Best guess. Less than an hour. The marshals were supposed to arrive at noon. They got there at 12:15, 15 minutes. That's all the window someone needed." Sarah did the math in her head. She was 3 hours and 40 minutes away. By the time she got there, Lily would be gone, moved, hidden, or worse. "I need helicopter transport, now." "Already requested. There's a state police bird that can meet you at the rest stop 40 miles ahead. They'll have you in Phoenix in 90 minutes. Sarah pressed the accelerator harder. 90 minutes. Still an eternity when your child was missing. Rex whined beside her, his head pressed against her shoulder, offering comfort the only way he knew how. Angela, who knew about the protective custody timing, who knew exactly when the marshals would arrive. There was a pause, a long one. "Sarah, are you asking what I think you're asking?" Someone inside gave them that window, someone with access to marshal movements. That's not low-level corruption, that's someone very high up. Jesus Christ, if you're right, we can't trust anyone. No, we can trust Rex, that's it. That's all we have. Sarah's phone buzzed with another text, same unknown number. This time it was a video, 3 seconds long. Lily crying, calling for her mother. Then the screen went black and text appeared, "Warehouse, where it started, 2 hours. Come alone or we start with her fingers." Sarah's hands shook so badly she nearly drove off the road. Rex barked sharp and urgent, snapping her back to focus. She forwarded the video to Angela without watching it again. She couldn't. If she saw her daughter's terrified face one more time, she'd break completely. "They want me at the Riverside warehouse, 2 hours. That's a trap. I don't care, they have my daughter. Sarah, listen to me. If you go in there alone, they'll kill you both. You know that. You have to know that." "Then what do you suggest?" "Wait for negotiators, file paperwork. My daughter doesn't have time for procedure." Angela's voice softened. "I'm suggesting you trust your partner. Rex found those bodies once. He can find Lily too, but you need backup. Real backup. People who aren't compromised." Who can I trust when someone inside is feeding them information? Me, Cortez. The other K9 handlers who came forward. We're all targets now anyway. Might as well go down fighting together. Sarah wanted to argue, wanted to insist she could handle this alone, but the terrified mother in her knew Angela was right. Going in alone was suicide. And if she died, Lily had nobody. Okay. Coordinate with Cortez. Meet me at the warehouse. But Angela, if it comes down to choosing between catching them and saving my daughter, I'm choosing Lily. Every time. No matter what. I know. I'd do the same. The helicopter was waiting at the rest stop, rotors already spinning. Sarah and Rex ran across the tarmac and climbed in. The pilot didn't ask questions, just lifted off the moment they were secured. Below them, the desert stretched endless and hostile, hiding 1,000 places a child could disappear forever. Sarah pulled up everything she could find about the Riverside warehouse on her phone. Property records, building permits, old news articles. There had been a fire there 10 years ago that killed 2 workers. The structure had been condemned, then mysteriously purchased and quietly renovated. By a shell company owned by Councilman Vance. Her phone rang. Unknown number, she answered. Officer Chen, I'm impressed you're being cooperative. Most parents get emotional and do stupid things. Where's my daughter? Safe. For now. Whether she stays that way depends entirely on your next choices. Let me talk to her. No. Then how do I know she's alive? There was a shuffling sound. Then Lily's voice, small and terrified. Mommy. Baby, I'm coming. I'm coming right now. You be brave for me, okay? Be so brave. They said you did something bad. They said... The phone was yanked away. The man's voice returned colder now. You exposed our operation, cost us millions in infrastructure, made us targets. That has consequences. You kidnap children. You murder them. You deserve to be exposed. We provide a service to very powerful people. People who will do anything to protect their privacy. You should have stayed quiet, Officer Chen. You should have accepted that your dog was gone and moved on with your life. But you couldn't let it go. And now your daughter pays the price for your principles. I'll do anything. Anything you want. Just let her go. What we want is for you to recant, publicly. Tell the media you made a mistake, that Rex alerted incorrectly, that there are no bodies in the warehouse, that you were emotionally unstable after losing your partner and fabricated the entire story. Sarah's mind raced. And if I do that, you'll let Lily go. We'll consider it. Consider it isn't good enough. I want guarantees. The man laughed, cold and mirthless. You're not in a position to negotiate. You have 90 minutes to get to the warehouse. 90 minutes to decide if your daughter's life is worth more than your pride. After that, we start removing pieces. Start with fingers, then toes, then we get creative. The line went dead. Sarah stared at her phone, rage and terror warring inside her. They wanted her to destroy her credibility, to make the entire investigation collapse in exchange for maybe getting Lily back. But she'd been a cop long enough to know how this worked. They'd kill them both, either way. The only question was whether Sarah would die having given up everything for nothing. Rex pressed his nose against her hand. She looked into his amber eyes and saw something there that steadied her. Determination. Purpose. The same look he'd had every time they'd worked together, tracking criminals, finding victims, doing the impossible because it needed doing. We're going to get her back, Sarah told him. Whatever it takes. We're bringing her home. The helicopter touched down in an industrial park 3 blocks from the warehouse. Cortez was waiting with 2 other agents and the 3 K9 handlers from the council meeting. All of them armed. All of them volunteers. We have 45 minutes, Cortez said without preamble. Phoenix SWAT is staging 5 blocks out, but they can't move without compromising Lily. We need eyes inside first. Rex can get us that. Sarah looked at her partner. If anyone's in that warehouse, he'll find them. He's tracking trained. Best in the state. One of the handlers, a grizzled veteran named Martinez, shook his head. Chen, your dog's been through hell. You really think he's ready for this? Sarah knelt beside Rex, looking into his eyes. Are you ready? Partner? Can you do this one more time? Rex barked once, sharp and certain. Then he stood and walked toward the warehouse without waiting for commands. Sarah followed, her heart hammering. The warehouse loomed ahead, 3 stories of corrugated metal and broken windows. The main entrance was chained shut, but Sarah found a side door slightly ajar. Rex pushed through it without hesitation, his nose already working, cataloging scents. Inside the warehouse was a maze of old equipment, collapsed shelving, and shadows. Rex moved with purpose, ignoring the obvious paths and heading toward a back corner. He stopped at what looked like a solid concrete wall and sat hard. The alert position. "There's something behind this wall," Sarah whispered into her radio. "Rex is indicating a concealed entrance." Cortez's voice crackled back. "Hold position. We're coming to you." But Rex didn't hold position. He stood and nosed at the wall, whining urgently. Then he started digging at the base, his claws scraping against concrete. Sarah knelt and ran her hands along the wall, feeling for inconsistencies. There. A seam. Nearly invisible, but definitely there. She pushed and a section of wall swung inward, revealing stairs leading down into darkness. "I've got a subterranean level, unmarked on any building plans. Going in. Chen, wait for backup." But Sarah couldn't wait. Somewhere down those stairs was her daughter. She pulled her weapon and descended, Rex close beside her. The stairs went down 20 feet, ending in a corridor lit by flickering fluorescent lights. The smell hit her immediately. Chemicals, bleach, something else underneath, something organic and wrong. Rex's hackles rose. He growled low and continuous, a warning Sarah had learned to trust completely. Danger ahead. Close. Imminent. They moved down the corridor, clearing rooms as they went. Storage spaces filled with mattresses and chains. A room with industrial washing machines running empty. Another room with computers and server screens showing multiple camera feeds of locations Sarah didn't recognize. Then Rex stopped at a steel door at the corridor's end. He alerted again, more urgently this time. Sarah could hear voices on the other side. Adult male. And beneath it, a child crying. Lily. Sarah's training screamed at her to wait for backup, to not go through that door alone. But her mother's heart overrode everything. She tested the handle. Unlocked. She took a breath, counted to 3, and kicked it open. The room beyond was large, lit by harsh overhead lights. In the center was a chair. Tied to it was Lily, her face streaked with tears. Standing behind her was Officer James Garrett, the canine handler who'd chained Rex to that fence. He had a gun pressed to Lily's head. "Officer Chen, right on time. Though I see you didn't follow instructions about coming alone." Sarah kept her weapon trained on him. "Let her go, Garrett. It's over. The warehouse is surrounded. FBI knows everything. There's no way out." "There's always a way out. That's what people like you never understand. People like me, people with connections, we don't go down. We disappear. We start over. We survive. Not this time. You made a mistake when you hurt my partner. You made an even bigger mistake when you took my daughter." Garrett's finger tightened on the trigger. "Put down your weapon or I end her. Right now. While you watch." Sarah's hands didn't waver. "You're going to kill her either way. We both know that. So why would I disarm? Because maybe I'm feeling generous. Maybe I'll just wound her. Knees are painful but healable. Faces, though. Faces are forever." Lily sobbed, her small body shaking with terror. Sarah met her daughter's eyes, trying to communicate calm she didn't feel. "It's okay, baby. It's going to be okay." "Touching," Garrett sneered. "But meaningless. You destroyed months of work today, cost very important people a lot of money. That has to be answered for. Now you're going to call your FBI friend and tell her you're wrong. Tell her Rex made a mistake. Tell her there's nothing in this warehouse except your overactive imagination and a traumatized dog." "No. No." Garrett's eyes narrowed. "You're choosing your pride over your daughter's life. I'm choosing truth over lies. Because even if I recant, you'll kill us both. I know too much. Rex knows too much. We're liabilities you can't afford to leave alive. Smart girl. Shame you couldn't be smart enough to walk away when you had the chance." That's when Rex moved. One second he was at Sarah's side, the next, he was airborne, 75 pounds of muscle and fury launching across the room. Garrett tried to swing his gun toward the dog, but Rex was too fast. He hit Garrett's center mass, knocking him away from Lily Teeth, finding flesh. Garrett screamed, firing wildly. Sarah ran forward, grabbed Lily's chair, and dragged it toward the door. Behind her, Rex and Garrett fought viciously, the dog's training overcoming his injuries, his protective instincts unleashed fully. "Rex, out, now," Sarah commanded, cutting Lily's restraints with her pocket knife. Rex released and retreated to Sarah's side, blood on his muzzle. Garrett lay on the floor, his arm shredded, his gun skittering away. He reached for it with his good hand, but Sarah kicked it aside and put her boot on his throat. "Don't move." Footsteps thundered down the corridor. Cortez and her team burst through the door, weapons drawn. They secured Garrett and began clearing the rest of the sublevel. Sarah knelt and pulled Lily into her arms, holding her daughter so tight she worried she'd leave bruises. But she couldn't let go. Couldn't stop feeling Lily's heartbeat against her chest, proof that her baby was alive, was safe, was home. "I've got you," Sarah whispered. "I've got you, baby. You're safe now." Lily clung to her small fingers, digging into Sarah's uniform. "I was so scared, Mommy. They said such bad things. They said, 'Shh, it's over. It's all over.'" Rex pressed against both of them, forming a protective triangle. Sarah touched his head with her free hand, felt him trembling with adrenaline and relief. "Good boy," she told him. "Such a good boy. You saved her. You saved us both." Cortez approached her, expression grim. "Chen, we found them. The bodies. All 8. Behind false walls in the back rooms. And there's evidence. Computer files, financial records, names. This operation goes back 15 years and involves 27 people in positions of power. You just broke the biggest child exploitation ring in state history." Sarah felt nothing. No triumph, no relief. Only exhaustion so profound it made her bones ache. She'd saved Lily. That was all that mattered. The rest, the investigations, the trials, the consequences, someone else could handle that. "I need to take my daughter home. We'll need statements, evidence collection, your testimony. Tomorrow. Today, I'm being a mother." Cortez nodded slowly. "Fair enough. We'll have officers escort you back to Phoenix. Full protection detail. Nobody's getting near your family again." They walked out of that warehouse into late afternoon sun. Media had gathered outside the police perimeter, cameras filming everything. Sarah kept Lily's face hidden against her shoulder, shielding her from the scrutiny. Rex walked beside them, limping slightly but proud, his head high. A reporter shouted questions. "Officer Chen, is it true you found evidence of multiple victims? Was this connected to Councilman Vance?" Sarah stopped and looked directly into the cameras. "I'm a mother who almost lost her daughter because I told the truth about children who had nobody to fight for them. That's all I'm saying. The evidence will speak for itself." They drove back to Julie's house in a convoy of police vehicles. Julie met them at the door, tears streaming down her face, pulling both Sarah and Lily into a hug so fierce Sarah thought her ribs might crack. "I thought I lost you both. When they broke in, when they took her, I thought, we're here, we're safe, it's over." But it wasn't over. Not really. Sarah's phone exploded with messages over the next hours. Captain Morrison suspended pending investigation. Detective Hendricks arrested at the Canadian border. Councilman Vance in custody singing like a canary about everyone involved. Officer Garrett charged with kidnapping, attempted murder, and conspiracy. The other handlers called, sharing similar stories. Their dogs found, their families threatened, their careers destroyed for trying to do the right thing. But now, finally, people were listening. Now the system had no choice but to investigate itself. Sarah sat in Julie's living room that night, Lily asleep on her lap, Rex sprawled across both their legs. She stroked his fur, gently feeling the scars beneath the evidence of his survival. "We did it, partner," she whispered. "We actually did it." Rex's tail thumped twice against the floor. Agreement, victory, exhaustion. Angela arrived just before midnight with food and updates. She sat across from Sarah, her face lined with exhaustion that matched what Sarah felt. FBI is taking over the entire investigation. They're looking at 17 different jurisdictions, 50 potential victims. This is going to take years to prosecute fully. And Sarah, they want you to head the Canine Witness Protection Program, training dogs and handlers to testify in cases like this. You'd be the face of the reform movement. Sarah looked at Lily, sleeping peacefully at Rex, whose eyes were closed but whose breathing suggested he was listening. She thought about those 8 children who died because nobody had listened to a dog, about Marcus Webb, who deserved justice, about all the kids still out there, still in danger, still waiting for someone brave enough to save them. "No," Sarah said finally. "I'm done. I'm retiring from the force, moving to Phoenix permanently, starting over where nobody knows my face or Rex's story. We've given enough." Angela didn't argue, just nodded slowly. "Can't say I blame you. But Sarah, what you did today, that's going to save lives for decades. Every K9 alert will be taken seriously now. Every missing kid case will be investigated fully. You changed everything." "Rex changed everything. I just refused to let him disappear." "Then maybe we name it after him. Rex's Law, mandatory investigation of K9 alerts in child cases. Federal oversight of local investigations. Whistleblower protections for handlers who speak up." Sarah smiled despite her exhaustion. "He'd like that, being immortal, making sure no other dog gets silenced for doing their job right." Angela stood to leave, then paused at the door. "For what it's worth, you're the bravest cop I've ever known, and I'm proud to have worked with you." After she left, Sarah carried Lily to bed and tucked her in tight. Rex followed, curling up beside the bed like a guardian angel in fur. Sarah sat on the floor between them, one hand on her daughter, one hand on her partner, feeling their breathing synchronize. This was peace. This was safety. This was everything worth fighting for, wrapped up in 2 heartbeats and the promise of tomorrow. The nightmares would come later, the trauma, the therapy. But right now, in this moment, they were together. They were alive. They had survived. And sometimes, survival was the greatest victory of all. 3 days after the warehouse raid, Sarah woke to find Rex missing from his usual spot beside Lily's bed. Panic seized her chest before she heard the sound of claws clicking against kitchen tile. She found him at the back door, whining softly, his body rigid with alertness. "What is it, boy?" Rex barked once, sharp and insistent. The alert bark, the one that meant he'd found something important. Sarah grabbed her service weapon from the lockbox, checked the security system Julie had installed, and opened the door carefully. Rex bolted into the backyard, heading straight for the fence line. Sarah followed her heart, hammering, expecting another threat, another attack. Instead, Rex stopped at the base of a cottonwood tree and sat hard, his alert position. But there was nothing there except dirt and fallen leaves. "Rex, what?" Then she saw it. A scrap of fabric caught on the fence, pink, the same shade as the shirt Lily had been wearing when she was taken. Sarah's blood went cold. She pulled out her phone and called Cortez. "We need a forensics team at my sister's house. Now. Rex found something. Chen, the scene was processed 3 days ago. We cleared everything." "Then you missed this. Get here. Please." Cortez arrived within the hour with 2 techs. They documented the fabric, the disturbed soil beneath the tree, the fresh marks on the fence. Then one tech pulled out ground-penetrating radar and scanned the area where Rex sat. "There's something down here, about 3 feet deep. Metal. Could be a box or container." Sarah's stomach twisted. "Dig it up." They excavated carefully, Rex watching every movement with intense focus. 20 minutes later, they pulled up a small metal lockbox. Rusted, old, sealed with a combination lock that had corroded shut. The tech broke it open with bolt cutters. Inside was a stack of photographs. Children. Dozens of them. Different ages, different years, but all with the same terrified expression. And beneath the photos, a ledger. Names. Dates. Amounts of money. "Jesus Christ," Cortez breathed. "This is a client list. These are the buyers. Everyone who paid to—" She couldn't finish the sentence. Sarah flipped through the pages, her hands shaking. Politicians, business executives, judges, a state senator, even a federal prosecutor. The corruption didn't just go high, it went everywhere. "How did this get here in my sister's backyard?" Cortez studied the box, the soil, the fence line. "Someone buried this years ago, long before Julie bought this house. They probably forgot where it was or got arrested before they could retrieve it. And Rex found it because he's trained to find evidence, even evidence that wasn't part of the original search parameters." Sarah looked at her partner with newfound awe. "You just solved 50 cases, boy. 50 missing children whose families never got answers." Rex's tail wagged once, then he trotted back to the house where Lily was eating breakfast, oblivious to the enormity of what her dog had just uncovered. Over the next week, that ledger tore through 5 states like wildfire. Arrests happened at dawn raids. Powerful people went into hiding. The news called it the largest child exploitation bust in American history. 27 arrests became 79. 8 bodies became 32. And through it all, Rex's name appeared again and again. The dog who survived torture to testify. The canine who wouldn't let the truth stay buried. The partner who'd been thrown away like garbage and came back to save children nobody else cared enough to find. Sarah watched the news coverage from Julie's couch, Lily on one side, Rex on the other. Her daughter was in therapy now 3 times a week, working through the trauma of her kidnapping. The therapist said she was resilient, that children often were, but that the nightmares might last years. Rex had nightmares too. He'd wake thrashing, yelping, reliving whatever hell he'd endured during those 3 months. Sarah would hold him until he calmed, whispering promises she intended to keep. Nobody would ever hurt him again, not on her watch. Julie walked in carrying mail. "This came for you, from the governor's office." Sarah opened the envelope and read the letter inside, then read it again because she couldn't believe what it said. "They want to give Rex the Medal of Valor, the state's highest honor for law enforcement. There's a ceremony next month, black tie, press coverage, the works." "Are you going?" Sarah looked at Rex, at the scars still visible beneath his fur, at the way he pressed closer to Lily whenever she moved. "I don't know. Public appearances mean exposure. Means people knowing where we are, who we are. I moved here to escape that." "You moved here to be safe," Julie corrected. "And you are. The people who threatened you are in federal prison awaiting trial. The conspiracy is broken. You don't have to hide anymore." But part of Sarah wanted to hide, wanted to pretend she was just a regular person with a regular dog living a regular life. Wanted to forget warehouses and buried bodies and the sound of her daughter crying for help. Her phone rang. Captain Morrison. She almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. "Chen, I'm calling to apologize." Sarah said nothing, letting the silence stretch. "I should have listened when you said Rex was missing. Should have investigated instead of closing ranks. I let politics override good police work and children died because of it. Yes, they did. I'm retiring, end of the month, and I'm recommending you for my position, captain of the K9 unit, full authority to reform how we handle these cases. I already retired." "I know, but I'm asking you to reconsider. We need people like you, people who won't look away when the truth is inconvenient. I have a 6-year-old daughter who was kidnapped because of my job. I have a dog who was tortured because I wasn't smart enough to protect him. I've given enough. You have, more than enough. But Sarah." Those reforms, Angela mentioned Rex's law. It's going through state legislature next week, mandatory K9 alert investigations, federal oversight, whistleblower protections. It's going to pass because of what you did, because of what Rex survived. Don't you want to be part of making sure it actually gets implemented correctly? Sarah closed her eyes, feeling the weight of responsibility settling over her shoulders again. She'd wanted to walk away, wanted peace, wanted normal. But normal was a luxury she'd never really had. "I'll think about it," she said finally, and hung up. That night, Sarah sat with Lily at bedtime reading her favorite story about a princess and a dragon. Except Lily interrupted halfway through. "Mommy, why did those people take me?" Sarah closed the book. She'd been dreading this question but knew it would come eventually. "Because they were bad people who wanted to hurt me, and they thought taking you would make me stop trying to catch them." Did it work? No. It made me try harder. Made me realize that catching bad people isn't just about following rules. It's about protecting people who can't protect themselves. Lily was quiet for a moment, processing. Like Rex protected me in that scary room. Exactly like that. Is Rex a hero? The biggest hero I know. Will he always protect me? Sarah looked at Rex sprawled across the foot of Lily's bed like a furry guardian. "Yes, baby. Always. That's what family does." "Good, because he's my best friend now, even more than Madison." Sarah smiled despite the ache in her chest. Her daughter's innocence had been damaged, but not destroyed. That was something. That was everything. 2 weeks later, they drove back to Sarah's old city for the Medal of Valor ceremony. Lily wore a purple dress she'd picked out herself. Sarah wore her dress uniform, pressed and perfect, and Rex wore a new collar leather and dignified with his badge number engraved on the tag. The ceremony was held in the Civic Center, packed with officers, politicians, and press. Sarah felt exposed under the lights, vulnerable in a way she hadn't felt since that warehouse confrontation. But then Lily grabbed her hand and squeezed, and Rex pressed against her leg, and she remembered why they were here. The governor spoke first, reading Rex's service record. 5 years of exemplary duty. 47 successful searches. 4 lives saved directly. 17 cases solved. Then the 3 months of disappearance. The abuse. The survival. The final mission that broke a trafficking ring and saved countless futures. "This dog represents the best of what law enforcement should be," the governor said. "Loyal, dedicated, incorruptible. He couldn't be threatened or bribed or convinced to look the other way. He found the truth and led others to it even when powerful people wanted it buried. Officer Chen, would you and Rex please come forward?" Sarah walked to the podium with Rex at her side and Lily following behind because her daughter refused to let her go. The governor placed a medal around Rex's neck, the metal glinting under the lights. Cameras flashed, people applauded, and Rex sat perfectly still, accepting the honor with the dignity of a dog who knew exactly what he'd sacrificed to earn it. Then Sarah was handed a microphone and suddenly she was expected to speak. She hadn't prepared anything, hadn't expected to feel this overwhelming surge of emotion. "I'm not good at speeches," she started, her voice cracking. "I'm better at chasing bad guys and filling out paperwork. But I need to say something. To everyone watching, everyone who works in law enforcement, everyone who thinks one person can't make a difference." She looked down at Rex, at his scarred body and proud bearing. This dog was thrown away because he did his job too well, because he found evidence that powerful people wanted to stay hidden. And for 3 months, I thought I'd lost him forever. Thought he was just another casualty of a broken system. Sarah's eyes found the other canine handlers in the audience, the ones who'd come forward at the council meeting. But we found each other again, and we exposed a conspiracy that went deeper than any of us imagined. Not because we were special or brave, but because we refused to accept that the truth should stay buried just because it's inconvenient. She paused, gathering courage for what she needed to say next. Rex's law passed state legislature yesterday. Mandatory investigation of canine alerts in child cases. Federal oversight of local jurisdictions. Whistleblower protections for officers who speak up. It's named after this dog because he paid the price for speaking truth that others wanted silenced. Sarah's voice strengthened. And I'm here to tell you that it was worth it. Every moment of fear, every threat, every sleepless night. It was worth it because 32 children who didn't get justice will finally be laid to rest properly. Because 79 predators are off the streets. Because future children won't be ignored the way these were. She looked directly into the cameras, into the lens that would broadcast this moment across the state. So if you're thinking about looking the other way, because speaking up is dangerous, because it might cost you your career or your safety, remember Rex. Remember that a dog was willing to die rather than let evil win. And ask yourself if you can do any less. The applause was thunderous. The applause. Sarah walked back to her seat on shaking legs, Rex beside her, Lily clutching her hand. She'd said what needed saying, made her stand. Now she could finally walk away, knowing she'd done everything possible. Except Captain Morrison found her afterward, his expression hopeful. That speech. That's why we need you back. That's the kind of leadership the K9 unit needs. I already told you. I know, but think about it. You'd have full authority, budget, staff, the ability to implement Rex's law the way it should be implemented. And Sarah, you'd be doing it from a position of power, making sure what happened to you and Rex never happens to another handler and their partner. Sarah opened her mouth to refuse again, but Lily spoke first. Mommy, you should do it. Then other doggies won't get hurt like Rex did. Sarah looked at her daughter, this tiny person with a heart bigger than her small body could contain. Baby, it would mean moving back here. Back to our old city, away from Aunt Julie. But Rex would be safe. And you said protecting people who can't protect themselves is important. Out of the mouths of babes. Sarah felt her resistance crumbling. She'd wanted peace, wanted normal, wanted to walk away from everything this badge represented. But Lily was right. Rex's survival meant something only if it created real change. And change required someone willing to fight for it. Okay, Sarah said quietly. Okay, I'll come back. But on my terms. Full authority over K9 operations. Direct line to the governor's office. And if I ever see corruption being protected again, I go public immediately. No warnings. No second chances. Morrison nodded. Done. When can you start? 3 months. I need time to find a house, get Lily settled in a new school, make sure Rex is fully recovered. And Morrison, I'm bringing reforms you're not going to like. Mandatory psych evals for K9s. Regular rotation to prevent burnout. A whistleblower hotline that bypasses department politics. Body cameras for all K9 operations. Whatever you think is necessary. They shook hands, sealing a deal that felt both right and terrifying. Sarah was walking back into the fire, but this time she'd be the one controlling the burn. 3 months later, Sarah stood in her new office boxes, half unpacked, looking out the window at the training yard where 6 new K9 teams were running drills. Rex lay in his bed in the corner, watching with the critical eye of an experienced officer evaluating rookies. Lily was in her new school, making friends with the ease of children who don't carry the same baggage as adults. She'd asked to join the Junior K9 program, a new initiative Sarah had created for kids interested in police work. It was therapy disguised as education, giving Lily purpose beyond being a victim. Angela knocked and entered without waiting for permission. You've been here 2 weeks and already pissed off half the administration. I'm impressed. I fired 3 handlers for falsifying training records. I wasn't making friends. I was making sure dogs don't get blamed for handler incompetence. Fair enough. But Sarah, you need to see this. Angela pulled up a video on her tablet. Security footage from a convenience store 3 states away. A man entering, buying cigarettes, paying cash. The timestamp was from 2 days ago. Sarah's blood ran cold. That's Officer Garrett. He's supposed to be in federal prison awaiting trial. He escaped during a transport transfer. Nobody notified us because they thought they'd recapture him quickly. They were wrong. And Sarah. He bought a bus ticket. To this city. He's coming here. The room seemed to tilt. He's coming for me. For revenge. Or for Lily. Or for Rex. We don't know. But we need to put you in protective custody until... No. Sarah's voice was steel. I'm not hiding, not anymore. Garrett wants revenge, fine. Let him come. But this time I'll be ready. Sarah, he's a trained officer. He knows your tactics, your training. This isn't some random criminal. No, he's a coward who tortured an innocent dog and kidnapped a child. And I'm done being afraid of cowards. Sarah pulled up the citywide camera network, tagging Garrett's face in the recognition software. If he was here, she'd find him. And when she did, there would be no escape. No deals, no second chances. Rex lifted his head from his bed, ears alert. He sensed her tension, felt the shift in the room's energy. He stood and walked to her side, pressing against her leg. Support. Solidarity. The promise that they'd face this threat together, just like they'd faced everything else. That night, Sarah took Rex and Lily to a safe house outside the city. Julie flew in to stay with them. Extra security was posted. Every precaution was taken. But Sarah knew Garrett was smart enough to wait, patient enough to watch for the perfect opportunity. It came 3 days later. Lily's school called saying there was a man in the parking lot asking about her daughter, claimed to be Sarah's brother wanting to surprise them. The school didn't release Lily, but the man got away before police arrived. Sarah drove to the school at dangerous speeds, Rex in the passenger seat, her weapon loaded and ready. But when she arrived, Garrett was gone. He'd left a message instead, written in marker on the hood of Sarah's old patrol car that was parked in the school's visitor lot. "You took everything from me. Now I take everything from you." Sarah photographed the message, called it in, then stood staring at those words while rage built inside her like pressure in a volcano. Garrett was escalating, getting bolder. Soon he'd stop leaving messages and start taking action. "We need to draw him out," Sarah told Cortez over the phone. "Use me as bait. Set a trap he can't resist. Too dangerous. If something goes wrong, if we don't stop him now, he'll keep coming, keep escalating. Eventually, he'll succeed. I'd rather face him on my terms than wait for him to catch me off guard." They spent 2 days planning. Sarah would attend a public event, a ribbon cutting for the new canine training facility. High profile, lots of witnesses. But security would be hidden, waiting for Garrett to make his move. The day arrived cold and windy. Sarah stood at the podium, giving a speech about Rex's law and canine reforms, while her eyes scanned the crowd for threats. Lily was safely hidden away with Julie and 6 armed marshals. Rex stood beside Sarah, calm and alert, his presence steadying her nerves. Then she saw him. Garrett, standing at the back of the crowd wearing a baseball cap and sunglasses, trying to blend in. But Sarah knew his posture, his build, the way he carried himself. She'd worked with him for years before discovering what he really was. She finished her speech without breaking stride, then stepped down from the podium. Security moved in to intercept Garrett, but he'd already turned and walked away. Sarah followed at a distance, speaking into her concealed radio. "Target is moving north toward the parking structure. All units converge, but do not engage until my signal." Garrett climbed the stairs to the structure's 3rd level. Sarah followed Rex, silent, at her side. She'd unclipped his lead, giving him freedom to move as needed. He was tactical now, all business, the warrior she remembered from their best days working together. Garrett stopped at a van, opened the back doors. Inside were restraints, duct tape, a shovel. Everything needed to kidnap someone and make them disappear. He was loading a bag when Sarah spoke. "Going somewhere, Garrett?" He spun his hand, going for the weapon at his waist. But Rex was faster. He launched forward with a growl that echoed off concrete walls, hitting Garrett before he could draw. They went down in a tangle of limbs and fur and rage. Sarah kept her weapon trained on them, waiting for a clear shot. "Rex, hold. Hold position." Rex obeyed, pinning Garrett to the ground with teeth on his arm, not breaking skin, but making escape impossible. Garrett struggled, screaming obscenities, threatening everything he'd do to Sarah and her family. "You're done," Sarah said quietly. "You escaped prison, crossed state lines, stalked a child. They're going to bury you so deep you'll never see daylight again. You destroyed my life. I had a career, respect, a future. You took all of it. No, you destroyed your own life when you decided to help murder children, when you tortured my partner, when you threatened my daughter. I just made sure everyone knew what you really were." Police swarmed the parking structure, taking Garrett into custody with enough charges to guarantee life in federal prison without parole. Sarah watched them drag him away, felt the tension drain from her body like water. Rex sat beside her, waiting for praise. She knelt and wrapped her arms around him, feeling his solid warmth, his steady breathing. "You saved me again," she whispered. "How many times is that now? I've lost count." His tail wagged, thumping against the concrete. Job done. Threat neutralized. Family protected. All in a day's work for a dog who'd survived hell and came back stronger. That night, Sarah lay in bed with Lily curled on one side and Rex sprawled on the other. The nightmare was finally over. The conspiracy broken. The predators in prison. The children found and given proper burials. Justice imperfect and delayed, but finally delivered. Her phone buzzed with a text from Angela. Governor just announced the Canine Valor Fund. Money for medical care and retirement for police dogs. Funded by seized assets from the trafficking cases. First recipient Rex. Full lifetime coverage pension the works. He's set for life. Sarah smiled in the darkness. Rex deserved that and more. Deserved peace, comfort, safety for however many years he had left. No more missions. No more danger. Just a quiet life with the family who loved him. Lily stirred, mumbled something in her sleep about teaching Rex a new trick. Sarah stroked her daughter's hair and felt overwhelming gratitude for this moment, for survival, for second chances, for the loyalty of a dog who refused to quit even when quitting would have been easier. 6 months later, Sarah stood in the training yard watching a new handler graduate with her K9 partner, young, eager, determined to make a difference. Sarah remembered feeling that way once before cynicism and corruption and buried bodies taught her how broken the system could be. But she'd fixed parts of that system. Made it harder for good dogs to be discarded. Made it safer for handlers to speak truth to power. Created oversight that couldn't be easily corrupted. It wasn't perfect. It never would be. But it was better. That had to count for something. Rex lay in the grass nearby, Lily sitting beside him, braiding flowers into his collar. He tolerated it, with the patience of a dog who'd learned that love came in many forms, even ones that involved floral decorations. Angela joined Sarah, both of them watching the graduation ceremony. You've changed things, Chen. Real lasting change. There are kids alive today who would have been victims if you'd stayed quiet. Rex changed things. I just refuse to let his sacrifice be meaningless. Maybe, but plenty of people would have walked away after what you went through. You didn't. You fought back. That matters. Sarah looked at her partner, at her daughter, at the new generation of handlers being sworn in with promises to uphold honor and protect the innocent. This was her legacy. Not medals or promotions or recognition, but this. The knowledge that children were safer, that dogs were protected, that truth mattered more than politics. You know what Lily asked me this morning? Sarah said. She asked if Rex was happy, if he ever thought about the bad things that happened, or if he'd moved past them. What did you tell her? I told her that Rex is a survivor, that survivors carry scars but don't let those scars define them, that happiness isn't about forgetting the past. It's about choosing to build a better future despite it. Wise words from a 6-year-old. She's been through enough to earn wisdom she shouldn't need yet. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the ceremony conclude, watching new handlers walk away with their partners toward futures Sarah had helped make safer. This was enough. This was everything. This was justice served not just for the dead, but for the living who deserved better. Rex's tail thumped against the grass as Lily whispered secrets into his ear. Whatever darkness they'd survived, whatever horrors they'd witnessed this moment, made it worthwhile. A child and her dog, safe and loved and free. A mother who'd burned down corruption to protect them. A system that was slowly, painfully learning to value truth over convenience. And somewhere in unmarked graves that finally bore names and flowers, 32 children rested knowing someone had cared enough to fight for them. Knowing a dog named Rex had refused to forget them. Knowing that their deaths had sparked reforms that would protect countless others. That was the real victory. Not the arrests or the medals or the recognition, but the quiet knowledge that every choice made, every risk taken, every sleepless night had mattered, had saved lives, had changed the world in small but significant ways. Sarah Chen had asked her daughter a simple question that day in the farmer's market. What dog, sweetheart? And from that innocent moment had come an avalanche of truth that toppled empires and saved futures. Because sometimes justice begins with a single person refusing to look away. With a 6-year-old girl seeing suffering and asking if she could help. with a dog who survived torture because he knew somewhere someone still needed him. The officer's reaction had stunned everyone, because nobody expected a cop to burn down her own department to save a discarded dog. But Sarah had learned something that day, something that would guide her for the rest of her career and her life. Loyalty wasn't about blind obedience to institutions. It was about standing with those who couldn't stand alone, about choosing courage over comfort, about believing that one person with enough determination could move mountains, expose darkness, and create light where only shadows had existed before. Rex had taught her that. A dog society had thrown away like trash, had proven more honorable than the powerful men who'd tried to silence him. And in doing so, he'd shown Sarah what real heroism looked like, not flashy or dramatic, just steady, relentless refusal to abandon what was right, even when right was dangerous. So when people asked Sarah why she'd risked everything for a dog, she'd smile and give them the only answer that mattered, because he would have done the same for me, and that's what family means.